Welcome back to the Roast It Yourself podcast brought to you by Coffee Bean Corral and Current Crop Roasting Shop. I'm Stephen Burnett with Coffee Bean Corral in Jackson, Mississippi. And with me digitally and in spirit and in hopefully real time is Catherine Mansell, Certified Q Grader and Director of Current Crop Roasting Shop in New Orleans, Louisiana. How are you today, Catherine?
I'm good. It's hot, but it's going well. Good day. How about you?
Yeah, hot and muggy here. Although I think we have it slightly better than you guys. We got some good rain after the fourth, so I think that helped us. Each week, we set aside 10 minutes to field questions from home coffee roasters and professionals alike about roasting, tasting, and most importantly, enjoying coffee. Send your questions to questions@riypod.com. That's questions@riypod.com to get a nice shout out from us and your question answered in an upcoming episode. This week, we had two emails with roasting questions that intersected one another. So we're bundling them up into this one episode to try and answer them both and be as complete as possible. The first question is from Robert in South Carolina, and his email actually has two different topics in it. So we're going to handle part B of Robert's question next week, and we're going to focus on part A this week and tackle that. Anyway, Robert writes, "Dear RIY Podcast." He spelled our name correctly. Thank you for answering questions and helping home roasters learn more. I've been enjoying roasting with a Fresh Roast SR800 for about 2 years and have tried many different green beans from Coffee Bean Corral. Thank you. There's still a lot I don't know, so here are a couple of questions. And here's his question that we're going to tackle this week. Can you talk about how different ways the beans are processed may affect roasting? For example, I would expect washed versus semi-washed versus natural processed beans to roast faster, slower, have more or less chaff, or other characteristics that would affect my choice of temperature, time, etc. So how do you roast coffee based if all you knew or if most of what you knew was the process? And that is an excellent question, Robert. And here's another question that we got that is similar, and we're going to answer it at the same time. Hi, Stephen and Catherine. One thing that I want to understand better is how the different processes affect the final flavor of the roast. Does CBC carry any sets of coffee from the same farm that are processed as washed, honey, and natural so that I can taste the same or essentially the same coffee bean in a different process? Thanks, Graham. Thank you, Graham.
Thanks, Graham.
Okay, so I'm going to sum the two questions. Yeah, Graham is awesome. Graham is awesome. So, and so is Robert. I'm going to sum these questions up. So, number one, how does processing affect the final flavor of the coffee? Number two, how do different processes behave in the roaster compared with one another? And number three, do we carry any sets of coffee from the same farm for comparison? Catherine, take it away.
Sure. So processes in coffee can dramatically change the final flavor. There are a number of different processes, but the main few that people are a bit more familiar with are washed, natural, and honey processes. So in a wash process, all of the skin, all of the mucilage, everything is washed off the beans before they're dried out. It makes it a very clean sort of smell and taste. When you move over to a natural process, it's completely the opposite. So all the coffee cherries are picked and then they're laid out to dry, excuse me, whole on these African raised beds. And they sit there and ferment for weeks before they're dried. That produces a very fruity, floral, fermented smell and taste. And then a honey process is right in the middle. So you just take the outer skin off the coffee cherry and leave different amounts of the mucilage on there. So you'll see a black honey process, a red honey process, a white honey process, and really all that means is different amounts of mucilage that's left on the bean as it dries. So honey processes are a bit sweeter than a wash process, but not as intense or fruity as a natural process.
Yeah, and as far as number two, do these roast differently in terms of like in the roast chamber? Do they roast differently? I mean, there's a couple of things in the process that make them roast differently. One of them is in a natural or honey processed coffee, you usually get a lot more chaff.
Right.
And a lot more chaff, especially if you're in something like an air roaster, can clog the roast, can clog the chamber and cause the heat to spike. If you've got a fresh roast, that can definitely happen. If you've got a Gene Cafe, now the Gene Cafe actually has a little sweeper arm,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool,
Yeah.
that sweeps the chaff away, but that still can have an effect if it's overloaded, if there's a ton of chaff. It can still cause the temperature to increase more than if there was less chaff. That would be probably the biggest difference.
Right.
As far as how coffees behave in the chamber, density plays a much bigger role, and that's going to be our analogy for that. Our closest thing we can is altitude. The higher altitude, usually the more dense, and usually you would want to be more rough with the coffee. So that actually plays more of a role than the type of process that's used in the way the coffee behaves. And the only other thing I'll say about that is sometimes if you got a wet hold processed coffee, you're usually roasting those into the beyond medium and into the dark roast. And so in those situations where not many people do the lighter side of your Indonesian wet hold coffees, so you're going to roast it longer just because you're going to a darker level. That's about that.
Let me go over wet hold process really quickly. I didn't hit on that
Yeah.
one. You'll see that a lot in Indonesian coffees. So wet hold is very similar to a wash process, except in a wash process, there's a layer around the bean, the raw bean called parchment. And in a wash process, that's left on to be protected as it dries. In wet hold process, even the parchment is taking off. So you're all the way down to the clean bean itself as it dries. So a lot of times that makes the coffee taste a little bit more earthy, but we do like earthiness coming out of Indonesia. Yeah.
That's right. And also, people, if they haven't seen wet hold coffee, sometimes it looks like it's been through some things.
Right.
It's had a past.
Yeah.
Okay, it's had a past, and that's because in order to get that parchment off, you have to be more rough with the coffee. The
Right.
machines they use to do that can kind of beat it up a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's still good. It's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And as far as the third thing, do we carry sets of coffees? We actually had somebody come in and visit the warehouse. By the way, if you're ever in the Jackson area and you want to come swing by Coffee Bean Corral's warehouse, we don't have a red carpet, or we would roll it out for you, but we will definitely show you around, let you see all the coffees, let you see the operation. It's a lot of fun when people do that. So someone came in today, and I love showing people, especially if they're coffee newbies, I love showing people, the Honduras 18 Rabbit. We have a washed, I believe we have a red, yellow, and black honey,
Oh, yeah.
and a natural. We have 5 coffees, same bean, 5 coffees, and they taste radically different. They
Yeah.
smell radically different. They even look very different.
Right.
Of course, we're in the weird spot right now. We're waiting on a bunch of coffees to come in from the new 2024-2025 crop. So we're right there, and we're like, oh no. But that one, and then also Dominican Republic, we've got a washed honey and a natural, and they're excellent coffees too. So
Oh, yeah.
those are a couple of sets that we have, and by the time you listen to this, we might have them back in. So go check that out. I will put links because why not? But yeah, if you get this maybe the day it comes out, we might still be waiting a little bit. So.
Right.
But yeah, that's all I'll say about that. So we'll link those coffees in the show note. Robert and Graham, I hope you enjoyed the answers. I hope they were helpful to you. Robert, we do have another question for you. Your second question, we'll tackle that next week. And but I mean, Catherine, we gave a lot of answers here. Is it possible we left something out?
Sure is. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. And so, if you're listening or watching and you have a different perspective, or think we missed something, don't sit there and give yourself an aneurysm. Being mad and not being able to vent it. We have a place for you to vent it.
Yes.
You can go to the comments for every episode. If you're on YouTube, you can go to the comments. If you're on Apple or Spotify, you can go to the comments and let us know what we missed. Let us know what your perspective is, your experience.
Yeah.
We want this to be a community thing. And we want this to be something that we all kind of build together. So don't go to bed mad. let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed it, that would be nice too. Otherwise, be sure to like it, be sure to share it, all the internet things to make this successful.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. We always enjoy this.
Oh, yeah.
And so whatever your platform on, just give us a shout out and let us feel the love. We're excited to watch the Roast It Yourself podcast grow and expand and reach more people, and you're a big part of that. We can't do it without you. Remember to send any questions you have about coffee in general or coffee roasting in particular to questions@riypod.com. That's questions@riypod.com. And otherwise, have a great day and happy roasting.
Happy roasting. Thanks, y'all.